Okay, what we have here is a little update on my January centuries. I realize we're already in March, but I wanted to get the January done eventually. So what I have here is the website that I've shown you before, where I'm keeping track of all 52 centuries. And a little right up there, and this is the map showing where all my rides are going to be, most of them in the US. But here's the month of January. I led a ride on New Year's Day from Santa Cruz to Monterey, a ride I lead quite often. And I always take a lot of photos, and they are at this link. So if we go over here to Picasa, take a look, and this is what the route looks like. Pretty familiar route of mine, showing start in Santa Cruz, work our way down to Monterey, and then it's kind of a lumpy ride with not too much climbing, but it actually ends up to be close to 5,000 feet. I had a good crew with me. Unfortunately, I didn't get a group picture. I did get a lot of pictures of the folks. There's Manny, and there's John Kaplan, and Manuel, and Shearston, and there's Shearston again. And we've got all kinds of people on the ride. Tom and Chris, and Jerry, a new guy in the club, or recently rejoined the club. And that was the first century of 2013. And now I'm going to go back to the second century. So shortly after that ride, I flew over to Singapore to spend a couple of weeks in Singapore and a few days in Malaysia, in Penang. And I did my first century in Singapore ever. I've ridden over there before, but I took my bike over and put it together in the hotel room and went off for a ride. It turned out to be kind of a messy ride. In the morning, my goal was to meet up with the folks from ANZA Cycling Club, but I started going around in circles, not figuring out how to read my GPS, and I missed them. But then I did this big loop around the island, about 70 miles or so. When I finally got back to the hotel, I actually went up to the hotel and plotted a new route that turned out wasn't worth anything. So then I rode around in circles over here, and then I asked somebody how to get out to the East Coast. They told me. I went out, came back, and it was quite a grueling day in the 100% or 80% humidity and 100 degrees Fahrenheit temperatures. I didn't ride with anyone per se, but this is what the ride looked like. Very flat, kind of lumpy. And I took a lot of photos, but they weren't of many people. They were mostly of scenery, like "Do not feed the monkeys." I like that sign, so I thought I'd take a photo of it. And mostly scenery of the area. And if anyone's interested, you can send me an email message and I'll send you a link to this. Or if you're friends on Facebook with me, you can find it. So that was that. Then the next weekend, I went to Penang, and I actually rode with a group called the G Group, a bicycle club there. And this is a link to the photos I took. This is the route. We ran around the island. The island is about 47 miles around, but we did a couple of out and backs and a few circles here, and got all the way back to the start, near the start, and I had 70 miles. So I did a quick out to Feringhi and back to get my 100 miles. And this is what it looked like. One decent climb and a little short climb, but mostly a little lumpy ride. And I met up with some folks in the morning, and we took off. And there we were in the dark, riding in traffic. But I was actually riding with a buddy of mine named Casey, a guy I met online, and he was super helpful to me. Oh, I did get up to top of a reservoir, and there was a group up there already, and we took a picture. That's yours truly, and then a bunch of new people I met. And this is a young boy, 14-year-old Koya Miyasaka, and he has got his own personally painted bike, and he's now looking for a regular road bike. But the kid rode a single speed, and he kept up with us most of the way, so pretty strong for such a young guy. And then when I got all the way back to the starting point, there was a nice restaurant where Casey and I had a bite to eat, and then he sent me on his way and he went home. But as you can see, I took lots and lots of photos, And I'm just trying to work my way down here to the photo that I have with KC and me at the restaurant, and then I took off and finished the ride. That was the 3rd century. The 4th century was a ride I joined a group called Cranking for Caffeine for the club, and I did a lot of out and back and up and down and back and forth to get my 100 miles in, and that's what the route looked like. San Felipe was the one big climb that I joined with them. And this is the group gathering prior to the ride. And again, lots of photos of my buddies, and there's Chris Kirby, super strong cyclist. We rode and rode through San Jose, ended up at a Starbucks, and we headed up to the top of San Felipe and then came back down. And after I split from them, I finished off my ride and got my 100 miles in. Here's the crew I was with. And that was that ride. And then finally, my 5th century of the year was a ride called the Reyes Lighthouse ride. And we started very early on the Golden Gate Bridge. It's with the San Francisco Randonneurs. This route I've done several times. We go up north, go out here toward the coast, go out to Reyes Lighthouse, come back, go up to Marshall, and then back through Nicasio, and then back down to the Golden Gate Bridge. And that's what the ride looks like. Kind of hilly, kind of difficult to climb it, and I was a little tired, but it was a fun ride. And this is some of the folks before the ride. Here's Barry, club member, Mike Melville, this is Barry Schwartz, Mike Melville, Gabby Friedley, Ken Emerson, club member, Megan, his friend, Masa Kobayashi, a guy who does all these rides, and Joan Deichmann, who recently, this last summer, completed Race Across America, and she wore me out. I chased her the second half of the ride, and it was quite difficult keeping up with her. But here's the pictures I took along the way, and I always take at least 50, 60 pictures. I think I got over 100 on this one, but it was a fun day, and got to ride with my buddy Ken Emerson, who is a lot stronger than me now, but rode with him for a little while, and he took off and left me. And that was it. 5 centuries in 1 month, and my next report will be on the month of February.